Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be discussing this new moon in Leo, which is taking place on the 16th of August. So, yes, I just want to say hello to you. If you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. And if you are a returning viewer, a returning subscriber to the channel, welcome back. I hope that you really benefit from this presentation today. And I hope that you find the information to be useful. Okay. So, with that, let's get right into this. How are we feeling, by the way? How are we feeling? Keyword being feeling. My gosh, a lot of emotion today. Moon is in Aries. There are sextiles happening, or sorry, trines, my mistake. Trines happening to both Venus retrograde and Black Moon Lilith in Leo. Hello, Barbara. Welcome. Good. I'm so glad. Hi, S. Just want to say hello to those who are entering the chat today. And we will take some time at the very end to answer some questions that you have. So it's $10 per question, but questions will be answered at the very, very end of this presentation. But of course, do stay tuned for your horoscopes. I will put the timestamps below after this presentation has been completed. So just be patient for that. Give me a little bit of time to get those up. And good, Barbara. I'm glad that you're feeling good. You were studying all day. Oh, I wonder what you're studying. But I'm glad that you're feeling good. And hello to you, Anthony. All right, so let's get into this. New moon in Leo happening on the 16th of August. So there's a lot to actually talk about today. Though before we do dive into it, I just want to remind you that I do have some astrology products available. So I have an astrology guide. There are some cheat sheets up. Also eBooks for each of the signs, each of the seasons. You can find these products at hannahselsewhere.com. And also there's some merch available, which you can also find at hannahselsewhere.com. And I even have an Etsy page where you can find my digital products. But of course, all of the links will be in the description box down below. If you're interested, you can always book a reading with me as well. Okay, so here are some of the key aspects that we're going to be exploring throughout this presentation. So looking at this new moon in Leo. So the moon in Leo, this new moon will happen at 23 degrees. And the sun and moon, of course, will be there both at 23 degrees, and they will conjunct Black Moon Lilith and also Venus retrograde. Now, there will also be a bit of a sextile to Vesta, so we're going to get into these aspects today. Then the sun and moon will also make a square to Uranus and Taurus. Now, the thing about this particular square is it's rather significant because Uranus will be in Taurus at 23 degrees, the same degree as the sun and moon in Leo. So this degree is going to be pretty strong. Okay, so yeah, we'll touch on that. Then also Jupiter in Taurus will make a square to Venus retrograde, and then there will be these trines happening to Mercury and Pallas, but we'll talk more about these aspects. Do also keep in mind orbs as well. Now, Mercury then will conjunct Pallas and Mars there in Virgo, and then even looking toward the North Node. So the North Node in Aries will make a trine to the Sun and Moon, and then the South Node will make a sextile to the Sun and Moon, as you can see there. And then the final aspects that I want to look at are Pluto retrograde opposite Juno in Leo, and then Ceres in Libra opposite Chiron retrograde in Aries. So we'll touch on those at the very end when looking at the aspects. So what I always like to do is I like to go over keywords to do with Leo. I like to just remind you of what new moons and full moons represent. So really thinking about, what intentions we will be setting here during this new moon. Of course, new moons are tied to intention setting, looking at fresh perspectives, a fresh start, a fresh cycle, new beginnings. But of course, this can even be that we reflect quite a bit during the new moon, and then we add to our experience as well. But basically, when it comes to new moons, there is a fresh start, or there is something new that can come from the intention setting. And then also looking at amplified feelings. We can be extra sensitive during new moons. And the unique thing about this particular new moon, of course, is it's taking place at 23 degrees. So 23 degrees equates to the number 5 in numerology. So the number 5 in numerology points to things like being bold and daring, exploration, okay, being adventurous. And this is significant because, well, it's particularly significant because, well, when we look to the 23 degree, this falls in the Aries decan. So if we think about Leo and the decans that exist within the sign of Leo, 23 degrees will then represent the Aries decan. And what is Aries? Aries is such an adventurous sign. It's this very bold and brave and courageous sign. Leo is also quite courageous as well. But still, the Aries energy ties this in quite well, I think. I think it's quite fitting, okay, if we look at the number 5. Though another thing with the number 5 is that it also looks at curiosity, being fun, being playful, and this is quite fitting then with Leo if we think about the archetype of Leo, and it's also quite an adaptable number. And as I say, there's a lot of curiosity there when it comes to the number 5. So it's safe to say that this new moon is going to be full of heat, passion, aliveness. Okay, thinking about our vitality. Okay, Leo, of course, is tied to our vitality. And then I would also say that it's going to really show up as a courageous new moon, a daring new moon. Hello, Eddie. Welcome. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Okay, so some Leo keywords that we want to explore. Well, here we are. So basically, whilst we are setting intentions during this new moon in Leo, these intentions may be tied to our creativity. Okay. So consider your creativity. I mean, is it that you write? Do you enjoy fashion, beauty? Are you interested in film, media? And maybe you like to draw. Maybe you like to paint, or perhaps you like to sing. You like to sing. You like to dance. You're part of some sort of drama club, a drama group. But basically, Leo looks at our creativity. Okay, so yeah, intention setting when it comes to our creativity. And then I would also say, looking here at these fresh perspectives tied to fun, play, entertainment, enjoyment. And this is the thing with Venus retrograde in Leo. Of course, Venus has been retrograde in Leo from the 22nd of July. Okay. So already what we've been noticing over these past couple of weeks is just how much this Venus retrograde is getting us to go within with respect to our childlikeness, with respect to our forms of enjoyment, even thinking about pleasure, and looking at the inner child, looking at our inner child. And this is even more so, I would say, intensified would be the word. This is more so intensified because of how Black Moon Lilith is also in Leo right now. And of course, during this new moon, I mean, there will be the conjunctions here with the Venus retrograde, and then looking at Lilith there too. So yeah, I think that when it comes to the inner child, the Lilith part of it is really looking at this push, or this force almost, to wake us up, to make us recognize, to make us remember, getting us to really focus in and to tap into the inner child. And that's not necessarily always an easy task. uh, yeah. Especially because Lilith can look at repression. It can look at parts of the self which we have denied, parts of the self that were judged and ridiculed, and parts of the self that we were banished for sharing, for expressing. So, in this way, this new moon, well, it may very well bring up a lot of these angry emotions, okay? Looking even at getting angry if it was, for example, that someone hurt you in the past, okay? Even looking at Venus retrograde within itself, it can look at retrospect, and looking backwards, basically looking to the past, looking at a past heartache, a past relationship, a past connection that maybe didn't turn out so well. But basically, the point is, allow yourself to be angry. And it could be that these feelings are felt during this new moon. But of course, with intention setting, this can also look at, okay, what can I learn then moving forward? What can I do differently? How much do I see myself? How much do I value myself? But again, if we were to circle this back to the inner child, I just think that this is a new moon of such play, such play, even looking at joy. That's the thing too, I guess, when it comes to emotions that we deny. We could very well deny joy in our lives. We could very well deny happiness, right? Cut it off. It could be that anytime that we try to express how much we loved something, right? This is just an example, but you could have went to your parents or to your siblings or your friends, and you could have said, oh, I love this so much, like this is my favorite thing ever. And for them to perhaps turn and say, oh, that's pathetic, or why would you like that, or you're being really annoying right now, like go away, right? Those types of comments, that they happen. And so that can perhaps send a message, a signal to that child, that what they like, what they love, what they enjoy isn't good. It's crap. They shouldn't like it. They shouldn't experience that joy. Whew. Yeah. This is not a lighthearted new moon, I don't think. Of course, it could be lighthearted elements to it. Okay, so I take that back. There can be lighthearted elements to it, but I just think that there is a heaviness here. Okay, there's something deeper to perhaps assess. Okay, so let's also think about how Leo looks at being determined, dignified, courageous. I mean, Leos are leaders. They are known to be leaders. And especially when it comes to the things that they wish to create in life, they are going to be super dedicated and super determined. So perhaps this new moon is an opportunity for us to set those intentions, right? And thinking about your willpower, your strength with respect to the things that you love, with respect to the things that you create. And the other thing about this is Leo naturally rules the heart. And this is a sign of such generosity, such warmth, such warmth. So, again, this new moon could be where this is a fresh perspective coming up, okay? A fresh perspective, a fresh start when it comes to the heart, our heart space. Okay, and this is especially seen with Venus retrograde also happening in this sign, and how that is such an introspective, there's such an introspective side to this this new moon. Of course, new moons even look at reflection, right, within themselves. New moons require us to get quiet, to get quiet, to go inward, to focus on our feelings. But with Venus retrograde also being in Leo, I think this further amplifies this, these things that I'm saying, basically. Okay, so now we have explored some of those major keywords. Let's try to explore the conjunction to Venus retrograde and then to Lilith. Now, before I get into that though, I want to say that in Leo, try to pay attention to the upcoming dates. So firstly, think about the first quarter moon in Leo, which will happen May 2024. So that's going to be at 25 degrees. So essentially, whatever intentions you're setting right now, okay, thinking about your Leo house, thinking about also any planets you have in Leo, okay, even thinking about certain aspects being made to certain planets in Leo, or aspects being made to the new moon, etc. But basically, consider the intentions that you're setting during this new moon, because around May, so May 2024, this first quarter moon will happen at 25 degrees, so pretty much 2 degrees away from the new moon. So there's that conjunction, and that will be an opportunity to look at, okay, what are some adjustments that can be made, or how am I being challenged here? Maybe your commitments, your priorities will be challenged when it comes to these intentions that you set during the new moon. And then by February 2025, there will be a full moon in Leo at 24 degrees. So that will be a time of illumination. That'll be a time of release. That'll be a time of reaping rewards as well. I love that about full moons. You can reap rewards. But yes, that can even be a time of something coming to a close or shedding old skin. And then the last part of this is the third quarter moon will happen November 2025 at 23 degrees, the same degree as this new moon. And that'll be a time period where it's like, right, okay, so really when I reflect upon the past, two to 2.5-ish years, when I really reflect upon these things, what did I learn? What was given? What was taken away? How can I move forward with greater clarity? And then, of course, the new moon will happen once again in Leo, and then it just moves on from there. The cycle continues, the process continues. Right. So the sun and moon will conjunct Lilith. Like I said, this is something I touched on a moment ago, but like I said, such themes to do with the inner child. I think that the inner child is such an important piece to take into consideration with respect to Venus retrograde. Okay, especially because with retrogrades, it is an internal process. A big part of it is about going inward, and a big part of it is looking towards the past or revisiting a situation. But with the Lilith piece here, when it comes to the sun and moon in Leo, and with the new moon in Leo, perhaps our intention setting will include our inner child desires. Okay. So yeah, really considering, who you were back then, or what did you enjoy. But you know what? This could even be something that's more recent for you too. Okay. Just considering then what it is that perhaps you have denied within yourself with respect to pleasure, with respect to even time off. That's the thing, thinking about Leo energy. If we consider even the fifth house, the fifth house which Leo rules, it looks at time off. It looks at our holidays, our vacations. It looks at when we're off the clock, right? That's something I don't really know much about, because I have a Capricorn stellium in the fifth house. So it's like I never stop working. That's how it feels. I do stop working, I do. But I think I also have to discipline myself. But anyway, I digress. Leo can look at our free time, our spare time. So perhaps this is a good opportunity for us to really assess that, to really be honest with ourselves about how much time we spend just doing something fun, or even just time we spend doing something for ourselves, right? For ourselves. Of course, Leo looks at the individual, your individuality. And then the other thing is, if we were to consider how the son can look toward the father figure, well, the father in general, and then the moon can look at the mother. Well, is it that there's something here that's so something that comes up during this new moon that reminds us of how we were parented, how we were raised, looking at our upbringing? Perhaps there is something quite profound here when it comes to our upbringing. And then, as I say, Lilith can look at parts of the self which were denied, parts of the self which were banished, so to speak. But Lilith also looks at empowerment. Okay, so what could this look like? This could look like us empowering ourselves with respect to confidence, self-expression, our sex expression as well. And then also looking at emotional freedom. There can be something quite freeing, quite liberating about this new moon. Okay, looking at a renewal, looking at something that we can change here. And keep in mind that with Venus, retrograde, Venus can look at things like pleasure and desire, love, connection, relatability, value, creativity. Venus is also in its own way tied to the heart space. And so, therefore, even with the conjunction to the sun and moon, I think this really is a time where it's like, okay, it is time to go inward. It is time to focus inward here when it comes to these things. Take a moment to reflect. Take a moment to just see, okay, what is it that maybe I denied? Or what is it that I would like to integrate moving forward? I just want to take a quick moment here and address a question, and I want to read it just because it could disappear later on. Okay, David, you said completely new. Quick astrology question. Is there any placements in a natal chart that could indicate someone could be a what? A satirist or ironic? I'm not sure what that means. But David, I just want to say thank you for your question. But I will answer it at the end. Okay. Now, if you can't make it until the end, if you can't stay until the end, I did say this at the very beginning that I answer questions at the very end of the presentation. But if you can't make it, you can always come back and watch the answer. Okay. As I say, it's going to be at the end. And I'm just going to take note of your question just a moment. So just so it doesn't disappear. So placements to indicate, I need to look up those words, unless of course you want to tell me what they mean, but I can look them up. Indicate those things. Okay, keep that with me. And to all who are watching, thank you so much for your patience. I'm going to continue, okay? And if anybody else has any other questions. Oh, a comedian. All right, okay. Okay. Well, as I say, thanks for your question. I'll answer at the end. And if anybody else has any questions, the questions will be answered at the end, as I say. Right. So what I want to now talk about is something that I talked about 2 months ago. Okay. And this was to do with the 5-petal rose of Venus. So if you haven't watched that video, I recommend watching it. I find the 5-petal rose of Venus to be quite an interesting topic to talk about or to explore in astrology. I think it's quite a beautiful thing to look into. Of course, Venus, I mean, yeah, it's tied to beauty. So, with the 5 petal rose of Venus, the thing is that we are about to reach what is called the inferior conjunction. So this is going to happen on the 13th of August, so 3 days before this new moon in Leo takes place. Now, what I said in that Venus video was it was something that now I made a mistake basically, okay? I rewatched the video to help me prepare for today and I was like, okay, that was an error. So I want to clear that error up right now. And then also I did comment under the video. So basically the error was I said in that video that this particular inferior conjunction, which inferior conjunction means when Venus retrograde and the sun make a conjunction in the sky, okay? They're the same degree in the sky. But I said so this upcoming inferior conjunction is going to be I think I said the second, yeah, the second petal of the rose of Venus, but in actuality, it's the third. Okay, so that's the mistake I made. And according to, I just want to mention this astrologer. So according to, I'm going to get the information. I really want to mention this. I thought this article within itself was really nice. I've also linked the article, by the way, under that video. But according to Zane Masser, okay, the third petal rose of Venus is strongly linked to our feminine energy, okay, and it looks at our feelings, okay, so the feeling side of our being. It looks at our heart. It looks at our heart, and it really addresses then the opening of our feelings, or really focusing on our feelings, okay? And this to me, I find to be interesting when we consider this inferior conjunction coming up, because this will be a time period then for us to, okay, come to some sort of renewal or to experience a revival with respect to our heart, with respect to our feelings. It's going to be a very emotional new moon. It's safe to say I think it will bring up a lot of emotion, but I think the emotions that it will point toward will relate to our desires, will relate to being seen, being valued for how we express ourselves, being valued for how we share our love. And I think also it'll be a new moon where emotions will be amplified with respect to how we relate, how we really connect on a more personal level with others, where it's like we feel like we can contribute to that exchange, and it may not necessarily be about see, that's the thing with Venus retrograde. It's because it's retrograde, it's also about looking at our own source of validation, okay? Having our own internal or recognizing how we can validate ourselves from within. But I think at the same time, it's being honest with ourselves about what it is that we need with respect to unity. And I think there's a lot of vulnerability then here coming up. But still, the inferior conjunction is a time of renewal. Okay, this is about a type of love revival, a relationship renewal, something new with respect to our finances, our values, our inner security, our pleasures, sensuality. Again, looking at our desires, our comforts as well, if we think about Venus. And then, of course, considering our creativity. Okay. So, yeah, this new moon, it's interesting because the new moon happens on the 16th, but a couple days before, the inferior conjunction happens. And then the day before, Juno enters Leo. There's so much going on in Leo right now, and with Juno entering Leo? Well, I think that this asteroid is going to further highlight meaning, establishing meaningful bonds. The way I'm viewing this right now is it is really a time to be honest about what our heart wants, about what our heart is communicating, being able to listen in very, very carefully, very, very carefully, to listen in, to tune in, to focus on the body, to focus on our feelings, and to be so truthful about, well, attraction, how we relate, how well we fit with someone else, how well suited are we, or even thinking about in a friendship way, how often we express our love toward our friends or our appreciation, looking at compliments, looking at attention, giving attention, receiving attention. How much attention do we need? How much attention do we want? How much attention do we desire? But then also looking at, that part of it where we can also be inclusive of others, and we can bring them into the pride. We welcome them into our social circle, our inner circle. Yeah, Juno and Leo, I think, is going to further add to unity. The inferior conjunction is also going to further add to unity. but Juno and Leo, it's like, right, okay, how is it that you relate? And is there a healthy sense of give and take here? And the thing about Juno as well that I just want to mention is Juno can look at commitment. It can look at marriage. We may find that during this new moon or around the new moon, there are people who, well, they may get engaged, and of course, people get engaged every day, right? but but I just think that this could be a situation where it's so out of like it's so unexpected, like the types of people getting engaged that you wouldn't even think, or the types of people getting into relationships that you wouldn't think. Or this could be where uh you're completely caught off guard when it comes to a commitment. You're surprised, okay? And that I suppose speaks to Uranus also making a square to the sun and moon, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But yeah, basically Juno, I mean, if we were to look at it on a very like literal level, like with Juno being tied to marriage, yeah, this could be these engagements, but engagements that are quite showy or very expressive. But then it's also like just be cautious in a way, because this could even, because with Juno, of course, it can also look at retaliation, it can look at infidelity, it can look at betrayal. So yes, there can be the part of it where it's like, okay, people being brought closer together, even looking at friendships and business partnerships, okay, sure. But at the same time, it can look at the retaliation, it can look at times whenever we don't feel seen and how we react, how we retaliate to that. And with this being Leo energy, okay, yeah, Leo energy can be where we let out a very mighty roar, you know, and it could very well be that um relationships, okay, there's the types of relationships that maybe aren't so fair. Let's just say relationships that aren't fair, and then things become rather messy. So yeah, Juno and Venus being in the same sign, both being in Leo, and then with the Venus retrograde, we may find that There are people that they're like, nope, I'm done. I'm wiping my hands clean of this relationship. I'm putting myself first. Bye. And again, that can relate to romance, looking at committed partnerships, looking at friendships, relative relationships, business. So just considering relationships in an overall sense. So yeah, there could be people where it's like, nope, I'm done. But then there could also be people where it's like, no, actually, I've been thinking about this for a long time and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Like, yes. And then if we even think about the children piece to this, okay, so Leo Rose children, many conversations to do with children coming up here. Possibly looking then at intention setting to do with family and unity and connection. Now, the other thing is, of course, is there's the sextile to Vesta. So with Vesta, it's in Gemini. And Vesta then in this way can look at mental focus and dedication. And it can then look at passionate and creative insight. So our intentions could be tied to our mental focus, okay? Thinking about any intellectual goals you have in mind, any conversations even that you really wish to have, then it's like, right, okay, I'm gonna challenge myself here. Like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get the courage, I'm gonna do it. And then there's also the part of it where you might decide to really challenge yourself with regard to your creativity. With that in mind, the aspects can also look at warmth and nurture and spiritual growth, okay? Because the sun and moon are there and making those sextiles to Vesta too. Okay, so hello, Renee, welcome. And let me just go up a moment. Is the new moon in Leo going to affect all the signs the same way? We'll talk more about the horoscopes at the end once we've looked at the aspects. All right, so as I was saying a moment ago, the sun and moon will square Uranus. And this one is quite potent because Uranus will be 23 degrees and then the sun and moon will be 23 degrees. So this could be where, this is what I was trying to suggest a moment ago. Unpredictable emotions, unpredictable changes when it comes to relationships as well. Erratic behavior, outbursts, having a short fuse, breaking free from certain connections or from certain situations, surprising ourselves, shocking other people, acting in unusual ways. Okay. Rebelling, doing our own thing, redefining our identity, and then going against authority. These types of things may really strongly come up. And again, it's because of the aspect. It's a very strong aspect because it's also 23 degrees. Yeah, we could very well surprise ourselves with our potential, with our capabilities, or because maybe there is something very new that we wish to take part in. And that within itself can be such a huge change. And it could almost feel like our identity is going through a rebirth. And I know this isn't Pluto, but I'm just trying to highlight the strength of this aspect. But then when I further think about this, of course, with the inferior conjunction, okay, the inferior conjunction happening on the 13th of August, like I said, that can look at renewal. And you could say then that it's like a new beginning. And so that within itself could be very transformative. Okay. And that within itself can also speak to the redefining of our identity, the redefining of our ego. There could be something about this new moon where it's like, right, this part of the ego, I'm going to allow to kind of fall away. and I'm going to embrace something very, very new about myself. And that can open up a whole new avenue, a whole new door could present itself, or a whole new opportunity could present itself. But then I suppose within this way, this even further leads into Venus retrograde, which will make a square to Jupiter during this full moon. Okay, so Jupiter within itself looks at new opportunities. Okay, it looks at growth. So with the Venus retrograde, I mean, this could be where it's like, right, during the new moon, you're really wanting to reflect upon, right, how can I spread my wings? How can I reinvent myself here? Especially with respect to finances, earnings, values, relationships. And this then further can suggest creative freedom. Maybe a lot of us will really question, like, how can I express myself more creatively? How can I get myself into a financial situation where I'm earning more money, but there's also greater financial freedom there for me? Another thing is overindulgence. All right, these are just things I would say to be cautious of during the new moon. Um, then again, it could even be that, basically what I'm trying to say is sometimes in life, it's like, yeah, have that extra bit of cake or have that extra coffee because you deserve it, that type of thing. But anyway, it could be during this new moon that we can be more susceptible basically to overindulgence, where it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll just go overboard, I'll just overestimate my time, or I'll take on even more responsibilities at work because but really it's like, consider consider your worth here. Are you really gonna give in to that? Are you really gonna give in to that? Just questioning a little bit there and drawing from our values and even drawing from our morals. Okay, hedonism is another thing. Procrastination is a possibility. Reassessing the bigger picture about our values and even just getting our priorities right, getting our priorities straight. I think this can be an excellent new moon where it's like, you know what? I'm really going to take my time. This is it. Jupiter in Taurus is like, slow down, slow, slow. And I know with Jupiter in Taurus, typically, right, usually with Jupiter in Taurus, it can be really rewarding in that, Jupiter in Taurus can highlight the expansion of materials and our finances. But you see, Jupiter entered Taurus, and then there were all of these like T-squares happening and a grand fixed cross, and now we've got Venus retrograde and it's making a square to Jupiter. And of course, Venus is the dispositor of Jupiter. And then we're getting Venus even making squares to Uranus. And then Uranus has been in Taurus since, dates 2016, was 2016? Anyway, it's been there for a good few years, basically, okay? So the point being, it has just felt like, oh my goodness, I'm constantly having to like wait. And it may also feel as if there's very little reward for what we're doing. Okay. But still, whilst there are these limitations, these blockages, what feels like a very Saturnian thing with trial and error, okay, with this, with Jupiter, I think it can also highlight then how much Jupiter and Taurus does require that patience, and I do think that things may start to ease up more, especially after this retrograde summer, okay, winter for those of you down in the southern hemisphere. But yeah, but you know what, at the same time, this is also a good opportunity for us to refine our skills. Okay, so Taurus looks at our skills, our talents. So, sure, okay, things may be moving slowly within certain aspects of our lives, certain areas of our lives. And it may kind of feel a bit frustrating because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm giving so much, I'm giving my all, I'm having to be patient, I'm having to think it through all the time. But then in other aspects of our lives, and especially I think in the background, things are working. They're doing their thing, okay? The bigger picture is unfolding, and I think that even with Saturn being in Pisces, I think it's looking at, okay, trust the process right now. Just trust. Hold on, okay? Even thinking about inner faith and recognizing as well that there's just so much that is outside of our control. There's so much that is actually outside of our control. It's like don't don't give into that. Try not worry about that. Try not become so consumed by that. Just keep plodding along, says Jupiter and Taurus. Keep plodding along. Keep focusing on the things that you can control. Focus on the things that are a priority for you right now on perhaps a very basic mundane level. And just trust that, you know what, things are going to turn. Things will start to move. We've seen even just that steady growth with Jupiter and Taurus, where it's like, okay, things turn, and then you go, oh my gosh, right, okay, there's a hope, there's something hopeful here. And then again we have to go, oh right, okay, have to keep at this, and then another peak comes through the clouds, sun coming through the clouds, oh right, yay, and then we go back again, but just keep plodding along, okay. All right, now Jupiter will also make a trine to Mercury. So this within itself, this can be useful. This can be a useful aspect, because this can suggest being practical when it comes to the advice that we share, the advice that we receive as well. Okay, so good for practical advice. Also good for breaking down knowledge, breaking down information, looking at information in a very thorough, practical, hands-on way. Okay, this could be where we even experience uplifting thoughts, positive thoughts. Okay, we experience ideas that can be well explained. And, this could even be where financial ideas come up. Okay, or it's a good time just to go over all of the account stuff. Okay, the bank account stuff, your earnings, how much you spend, how much you budget. Maybe that's too overwhelming for some people. Okay. And I'm sure it can be overwhelming, but I still think Jupiter trine Mercury can look at that possibility. There's a possibility for us to, okay, just take a moment to really like plan it out. Okay. Create the plan, do some preparations. Yeah. And as I say, this could be where our thoughts are a bit more hopeful, a bit more positive during this new moon. We may feel inspired as well, inspired to create, inspired to write, inspired to get things done. And then Jupiter will also make that trine to Pallas. So this can be quite helpful, quite useful when it comes to our creative intelligence. Okay, this can be helpful when it comes to problem solving. This could even be where we experience some type of visualization growth. Okay, there's an expansion with respect to how we visualize. Or you know what, it could, even if we mix that in with the Mercury energy, it could be where we have an idea of the direction we want to take, the next step. Yes, patience is required, okay? Doing your thing and making sure that everything's organized, or you got all of your ducks in a row, etc. But maybe during this new moon, it can be an opportunity for us to just encourage ourselves, or to feel uplifted by, oh my gosh, you know what? That could actually happen for us, for me. This situation could very well play out if I just keep at this. Like that within itself can be really uplifting. And we can experience then these bright feelings, feelings where it's like, oh yeah, I feel really good. I feel really, really good. Okay, let's now move on to the sun and moon making a trine to the north node, and then also a sextile to the south node. So the north node is in Aries, and then the south node is in Libra. So let's think about the nodes. They are tied to our soul's purpose and our individual path. So, well, the north node being in Aries specifically looks at our individual path here, okay? So yeah, I would say that with the trine to the sun and moon, I think this is a new moon where it's like, right, okay, what is it that I want when it comes to my individual path? looking at self-exploration, self-discovery, personal development, or personal growth. Intention setting to do with our creative potential and our emotional attachments as well, given the moons there. Leadership and relationship karma related to our ego, our vitality, our strength, our upbringing, and our needs and our security as well. And then also with the sextile to the South Node, considering gifts to do with teamwork, to do with negotiation, to do with partnership, looking at even beauty, okay? And sharing these gifts, sharing these talents of ours with generosity and warmth. Then it also, this new moon may highlight wisdom to do with sharing, to do with sharing. So we can pass on that wisdom. We can pass on wisdom when it comes to sharing and feedback and exchange. But of course, with the South Node being in Libra, just try not to rely too much on others or to deny your personal emotions and feelings and your personal needs. Ask yourself, for example, are you playing small? And then pleasing others, is it that you are pleasing others because you don't want to feel uncomfortable yourself? Okay, maybe there's something there that's subconscious where it's like, oh, I'm pleasing other people because I don't want to upset them. But also, is it that them being upset with you makes you feel uncomfortable? And so that's also why you don't want to rock the boat or you don't want to disagree. Because it's like, I don't want to feel that way. Last couple of aspects then that I want to explore. Firstly, Pluto retrograde opposite Juno. So this is an interesting one because we had Venus, which was opposite Pluto retrograde when Venus first entered Leo throughout, was it July? The date I can't quite remember, but it could have been at the beginning of July. But basically, with Juno here now, this could look at commitment power imbalances and struggles. Like I was saying earlier, Juno can look at infidelity. Juno can look at give and take. So, what are you resisting when it comes to give and take? And is it that there are power imbalances and or power struggles which exist within your committed relationships, your meaningful relationships? Again, this can apply to business. I just want to really highlight that it's not just about love. And then the thing is that could look at my way or the highway, okay? Because Pluto and Juno are like, I'm not budging. I'm standing my ground. Hence the power struggles. Then also looking at transforming through a trust and commitment experience. Okay, so that's something to consider. That is certainly something to consider around this new moon. We could very well transform when it comes to trust and commitment. And we may also confront or be confronted by our fears of commitment, but also our fears of abandonment. That's an interesting one. Is it that often we fear getting super close because we fear being abandoned? We fear rejection. We fear betrayal, right? And of course, Juno can look at things like divorces, betrayal, retaliation, breakups. Yeah, I think it sort of speaks to the part of this new moon that I was mentioning with, people suddenly separating, suddenly parting ways because it's like, I'm done. I'm done with the power struggles. I'm done with not feeling good within this relationship, or I'm not getting my needs met, or I can't meet your needs, with the same token. But still, this could also be where there is give and take empowerment, right? This could also be, where it's like, yes, sure, there's the tug of war that can happen when it comes to oppositions, but there's also the ability to understand. There's the ability to listen, to see where another person is coming from, to look at their perspective. And so, yeah, within this, there could be an opportunity for us to look at fairness and to look at the give and take and to feel empowered by that, to come to a moment of, hey, you know what? I get it. I see where you're coming from. Let's do that then. Me and you. Okay, so the last thing is Chiron retrograde opposite Ceres. All right, so Ceres is in Libra. Chiron retrograde is in Aries. So this suggests that during this new moon, we may be reminded of a painful separation, of a nurturing wound, of a caregiver rejection, grief. And even if we were to consider how at the same time Pluto retrograde will be opposite Juno, perhaps they feed into each other in some way, okay? Perhaps it's that, for example, the retaliation piece of the opposition between Juno and Pluto retrograde, it somehow ties into a wound. It somehow ties into something painful. This could even be where some of us are fearful, right? We're fearful of losing someone, or we're fearful of being separated by someone, or separated from someone, should I say. This can, of course, be tied to our partner, a relative, a close loved one. And so, yeah, this could be a new moon that brings up a lot of very strong emotions, difficult, uncomfortable emotions, I just want to say. But with the same token, this could look at healing, mending, looking at guidance with relation to our relationship attachments. And also with relation to our self-esteem, our self-worth. Okay, so that is us with the aspects. So just gonna have a short break, just having some water. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening today. I hope you're finding this presentation to be helpful, and then we're going to get into your horoscopes. The Undead Hydra, you said Jupiter in Taurus explains an all-night grind that you didn't even know you were capable of. Wow. So you've been working all night, essentially. Yeah. A lot of output can show up then with Jupiter and Taurus, right? You know, expanding the work. Expansions at work. Just being silly. But yes. Right. So let's now look at your horoscopes. Okay. Aries. Okay, so Aries, for you, this new moon will happen in your 5th house. Okay, so for you, Aries, you will be setting these new intentions with respect to children, love, with respect to fun, your forms of enjoyment, things you do during your spare time as well. I would say that with Venus here being retrograde, and even there with Lilith also being there in your 5th house, this could be quite an emotional time, in that you may sort of reflect upon past frustrations to do, or past rejections, even past denials to do with your childhood. So again, you know, looking at the inner child here, and perhaps feeling quite strongly about what was denied within yourself. But I think within this can be quite a liberating time for you. This can be a time of empowering yourself. And so reaching a place of seeing things in a whole new light, seeing things in a new light, in a fresh way, when it comes to self-expression with respect to your individuality and your ego as well. Okay, Taurus. So, Taurus, this new moon in Leo will happen in your fourth house. All right, so for you, Taurus, you will be, of course, setting new intentions with regard to your family situation, your privacy, your emotional security, looking at your emotional needs as well. For you, Taurus, with Venus retrograde and Lilith also being in your fourth house, I think that what's been coming up for you quite a bit lately is looking at any sort of issues that you've had with family members, and even looking at past situations, diving into the past, diving into perhaps quite a painful situation or something to do with an emotional denial, an emotional rejection of some kind. Okay. And so, yeah, perhaps there's just a lot of feelings here, a lot of emotion. And whilst you may not necessarily be sharing how you feel, outwardly, um, I think that this is still a period where you're going inward. Okay. There's so much of this that's about this inward exploration where you're trying to really focus on, okay, how am I feeling? Like, how am I feeling and what do I need in order to support myself emotionally? But also, what is it about my heart that is aching? What is it about my heart that is painful here, perhaps? And what is it about my heart, in terms of, okay, what does your heart want? And perhaps coming to a point of liberation. Okay, Gemini. So for you, Gemini, during this new moon in Leo, you will be setting new intentions when it comes to the ways in which you, of course, communicate, looking at how you share information, looking also at how you learn. Okay, maybe for you, Gemini, you really do seek to share information in such a vibrant way, in a confident way as well. And I think you take a lot of pride, or there's a lot of pride here to do with how you communicate and even looking at your mindset and so on. But yeah, this could be a moon where there's some fresh perspective, new beginnings coming up for you. But then with Venus retrograde and Black Moon Lilith being in your third house, let's just say here for you, I think there's something about coming to a point of freedom or liberation when it comes to your mindset, even considering where your mind goes, the places that your mind can go to. Maybe Black Moon Lilith especially has been looking at certain darker thoughts, even ruminating, or even thinking about past hurts. Okay, even with Venus retrograde, I mean, it could be thinking over and over a relationship or a past struggle, a past um, a past relationship that was not very accepting, let's just say. But yeah, I think for you, perhaps this can be an opportunity for you to, suppose in a way, plant new seeds or start a new cycle. To reframe your mind, to look at things in a different light, and that within itself can help you move forward. And but then again, you know what, this could even relate to something that you're learning as well. Okay, something about um a subject that you are really interested in, for example. Okay, Cancer. So Cancer, this new moon will happen in your second house. So for you, Cancer, you will be setting new intentions with respect to your value system, looking even at your self-worth, your inner security. And also, I would say a fresh perspective, a fresh start coming up for you with respect to your personal finances, your personal gains, your personal earnings, and so on. Now, With Venus retrograde and Black Moon Lilith being in the second house for you, I think as well, this could be where you'll be even reassessing the ways in which you were denied certain products or materials, for instance, even looking at perhaps past situations where certain materials have been used against you, thinking even about how finances perhaps have been used against you in some way. But then perhaps this is also about getting to a place of really uh, liberating yourself when it comes to your self-worth, okay? Being able to reach a place of, no, actually, I'm standing up for myself here. I'm really standing up for myself. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be courageous here. I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to accept this type of behavior from someone, especially if that behavior from someone impacts or affects your financial position. Leo. Okay, Leo. So during this new moon for you, you will be setting new intentions with respect to your life path. Okay. I think for you, especially Leo, we consider how the new moon is happening in your sign, but we also consider how the Venus retrograde is happening in your sign. I think for you, there have been like huge changes, huge changes with respect to your aims, your goals, your direction, your approach, just looking at what you prioritize in life. I think a lot has been changing for you in really great ways. There is a part of this where it's like, oh my goodness, new beginnings, new opportunities, looking at your identity and how much that has changed over the past few weeks. But the new moon is further going to add to your growth. It's further going to add setting new intentions. Okay, so looking at the next big step, the next big um the next big change in your life, this new cycle. Okay, and again, that can relate to your identity, to your sense of self as well. And of course, with Venus retrograde and then also Lilith being in the first house, yeah, this could be where there's something quite liberating here. Okay, liberating yourself from a past situation, looking at even your relationships. Okay, Venus retrograde being tied to relationships. So yeah, liberating yourself from a relationship or being able to free yourself from a financial situation as well that maybe felt quite limited. And also, I would say, looking here at the inner child a good bit. Okay, looking at the things that bring you joy and happiness. So this could be a new moon where you set intentions to do with these very areas. Of course, Venus retrograde has been showing up as you doing that inner work as well. Okay, Virgo. Let's move on to Virgo. So for you, Virgo, this new moon I think, will have you, well, you will be setting new intentions with respect to your inner world, okay? Looking at getting really quiet, going inward, Virgo. This is a new moon where it's like, right, okay, how can you just go behind the scenes, go out of the public eye, take time, rest, relax, Virgo. I think Venus retrograde, especially for you, has been pointing toward relaxation. But also I would say exploring the subconscious, exploring the sort of symbolism in movies you watch or music that you listen to. I think even for you, Virgo, you've been experiencing a lot of nostalgia. Of course, with Venus retrograde, it can highlight nostalgia for everyone. But for you, I think that nostalgia is showing up then when you're alone. And I think for you, it's almost like you're wishing to go back to a place. You wish you could go back there, right? To a certain situation, to a certain time period. But maybe for you, it's quite sad that you can't, because you can't physically, right? So basically, I think for you, you could be setting the intentions when it comes to, that this very like deep part of you, the part of you that you typically keep hidden from the world. Um, and even looking at your inner confidence, your inner self-assurance. Maybe this is really a good way for you to reflect upon these parts of yourself, even with Lilith being there as well. Whew. Much emotion, much anger, rage, perhaps. um, and I would even say just gaining really this fresh perspective with respect to what you denied, the parts of yourself that you denied, um, with regard to your childlikeness. Okay, so let's now look at Libra. So, Libra, this new moon will happen in your 11th house. And so, for you, new beginnings, new intentions to do with community, friendship, looking at group members, perhaps even looking at those personal relationships that you have with particular group members, especially with Venus retrograde being there. I mean, this could be where you revisit a relationship that you had with an old friend, or you rethink a relationship from the past. And again, it's somehow tied to like this previous community situation. And it could also be that you take some time to reflect upon your hopes for the future, your aims, and how your hopes and aims for the future are somehow related to children, and how they may also be related to creativity, self expression. Okay, looking at what you create. Perhaps you have just this real ability to create within a group, within a crowd. You can sure shine in front of an audience, Libra. But yes, setting the intentions here and when it comes to these things. But the thing, of course, is with both Venus retrograde and Lilith being in your 11th house, I I think that this can indicate you exploring more deeply what it is that you weren't really seen for. Okay, what it is that other people overlooked within a crowd. What members of the group don't fully see you or recognize you, or even coming to a point of clarity in terms of how much you see yourself, how much, maybe it is that you can hold yourself back from stepping into the spotlight, for example. This can be quite a revitalizing time for you, Libra. Even considering your ego, and the appreciation that you have, even when it comes to how you shine, how it is that you put yourself out there. Scorpio. Scorpio. Okay. It's quite a deep one. Of course, it's Scorpio, but okay, Scorpio, for you, of course, this new moon is going to happen in your 10th house. And okay, sure, this can look at setting new intentions with regard to your public image, your reputation. So, considering the ways in which you're seen amongst the public, the ways in which you're seen professionally as well. Okay, so setting intentions there, even looking at leadership. So, how it is that you really, I think for you, Scorpio, you're destined to be a leader, of course, with Leo in your 10th house. But I digress. Yeah, this could be where you plant new seeds here to do with leadership and courage within your professional life, even looking at how the 10th house is tied to purpose there. Now, with that being said, Venus retrograde and Lilith are also in the 10th house for you. So I think that there's a good bit to reassess for you, okay? Really going over, right, okay, what is the life mission here? Okay, what is my purpose here? What am I willing to tolerate here? You know, what type of power plays are happening here when it comes to dealing with the public? Even looking at members of authority, right? You know, it could be that you're dealing with a particular boss or manager and they're giving you quite a hard time. Okay. So, yeah, I think for you, it could be where it's about, okay, time to liberate myself from this situation, time to seek some type of freedom. It's time to put myself first, truly put myself first, and to know what it is that I'm worthy of here. You know, what is my worth? Questioning truly what your worth is to your career. Just going to take a quick drink of water. Nikta, you said you're a Leo rising, and you said you broke up with your fiance. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Nikta. Oh, that's quite sad news. I hope you're okay. Eddie, you said probably due to the full moon in Aquarius, Nikta. I'm sorry, Nikta. That's quite sad news. I hope you're okay. And then Mary, you said you've got Leo in the 10th house. Well, I hope that part of the horoscopes you find to be helpful. All right, so we're going to get into the final 3 signs. Sagittarius, you are next. Okay, so Sagittarius, the new moon is going to happen in your 9th house. Okay, so there's a lot coming up for you when it comes to travel, further exploration, further self-discovery. Yeah. This could be a truly uplifting new moon where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling inspired or I'm feeling uplifted. And maybe as well, you will start to set new intentions when it comes to your teachings, when it comes to advanced training as well. Even with Venus retrograde being in your 9th house for the past while, training, revisiting, training or sort of upskilling, I suppose you could say, having to refine your skills or having to revisit your skills in some way, and having to improve then in this respect, Sagittarius. Yeah, it could be that there's been a good bit of focus upon learning, okay? Higher learning, higher knowledge, sharing knowledge as well, sharing your teachings. Then again, with the retrograde, maybe for you, it's about, okay, it's time to just revisit this and then make a plan or, consider what can be done later on, etc., etc. Okay. But it could even be where you have so many aspirations right now and it maybe feels like it's almost impossible to get anything fully done if you consider it. Yeah, with you, Sagittarius, is just in general, you can be such aspirational people, but often you can you can aim your arrow at so many targets, and then it's like, oh, which one? But yeah, you still have that inspiration within you. Let's just say that you still have that inspiration, the drive, the motivation, especially when you're passionate about something, you'll follow that. Whew. But yeah, I think this new moon for you can really highlight these parts of yourself. And I think as well, if we consider with Lilith, okay, so Lilith is also there in the 9th house for you. So perhaps Sagittarius, This could even look at certain deeply held beliefs that you have about yourself, okay? Considering the inner child, considering even your beliefs in terms of your religious beliefs, for example, or your physical, or sorry, your philosophical, your philosophical beliefs, okay? So yeah, this could be a time period where, okay, fresh perspectives about what your philosophies are, your worldviews, and how those things might even be related to the ways in which you were raised, how those things may be related to even feelings of joy and happiness for you. Okay. I mean, with Leo there in the ninth house, it can suggest that your philosophies usually are tied to like being more positive or, more uplifted about things, etc. But yeah, I think in general for you, Sagittarius, new beginnings here, okay? Planting new seeds to do with your beliefs in general. Though, just, you know what, thinking about this even more, the ninth house can look at trials, okay? It can look at legal matters. So I would say that this could be a new moon where perhaps these types of situations come to the forefront, or you start to really reflect upon a legal matter so that you can kind of see, right, okay, what do I need to do here? Even thinking about Venus, that's tied to finances. So yeah, that could be quite a sensitive topic for you right now, Sagittarius. Okay. Whew. So moving on to Capricorn. So Capricorn, this new moon is going to happen in your eighth house. I'm pretty sure I said it earlier. I said the final 3 signs. I meant to say 4 signs, but I digress. Capricorn, for you, the new moon will happen in your eighth house, suggesting you setting new intentions to do with, well, joint financial matters. Okay, there may be some decisions coming up for you, Capricorn, which they're not easy to make. All right, even with Venus retrograde being in your eighth house the past while, these shared resource, joint financial planning, joint ownership, these types of things, okay, shared finances, these types of things, not easy decisions to be making. And even with Mercury retrograde coming up as well, which I haven't touched on for the other signs, but it just, I feel the need to mention this. Of course, with Mercury retrograde happening in the ninth house for you, and with that coming up from the 23rd of August up until around the 15th of September, much to be thinking about, much to be considering, a lot of having to assess the details, having to make truly well thought out decisions. Okay, well, notice this with Mercury retrograde for everyone. We'll talk more about Mercury retrograde, of course, within the transit within other videos. Okay, there's actually a Mercury retrograde in Virgo video up on the channel, so you can check that out if you want. Just I want to say that to everybody there. Still, for you Capricorn, yeah, many decisions to be made, and even looking at children. Okay, even looking at business management, considering creativity here as well. Perhaps even for you, Capricorn, there's something quite intense about creativity or about passion or even about sex. All right. Looking at romance as well, love, having to truly reflect and go inward and to consider, right, what is to be discussed in a mature manner here. Okay. And I would also say that whilst, okay, sure, you will be setting new intentions with respect to shared and joint finances and resources, etc. Well, perhaps intimacy even comes up. Okay, vulnerability, looking at an emotional release, perhaps one that's quite passionate or one that's quite traumatic. Okay. But then with Black Moon Lilith, this even adds to the force, okay? Like almost like a scream or like a rage or like a I need to I need to say this, or I have to feel this. Like I'm going to feel how I feel, this type of energy. Oh, for you Capricorn, mighty transformations. with regard to connection and intimacy. Okay, let's look at Aquarius then. Aquarius, this new moon is going to be happening opposite you. Okay, it's going to happen in your 7th house. So thinking about setting new intentions with respect to collaborations, partnerships, agreements, contracts. What I find interesting about this, right, is how contracts and agreements are talked about quite a bit when it comes to the 7th house. But when we really think about the depth of a contract, what that means, gotta be focused. Gotta really consider, especially for you, Aquarius, the new moon happening in the 7th house for you, Venus retrograde as well. Really consider the contracts here. Consider what you're agreeing to. Who is agreeing to a particular contract with you as well. Making sure that you have everything assessed and looked at. Making sure that you don't just go, yeah, sure, without thinking it through. Okay. This new moon is going to highlight, okay, sure, new intentions to do with contracts and agreements, perhaps where you are a leader within a partnership or where you agree to a partnership. Okay, you agree to it, and maybe that partnership is somehow tied to creativity or it's tied to something quite performative or theatrical, even business, management. Okay. But again, just Venus retrograde, it's saying just go over it, think about it. And the other thing, of course, is this can even show up when it comes to marriage and commitment. Could even be that a few Aquarians, okay, there's some proposals happening, a significant time here to do with proposals. So, yeah, this could also look at commitment in this way, relationships in this way. And with Lilith also being in the 7th house for you, maybe it's that this is about you really just taking the time to go inward and to think about, right, I'm trying not project, try and not like project onto a situation, or even, thinking about how, of course, the 7th house can look at our unconscious, it can look at the hidden parts of ourselves. Maybe there is something angry that you need to explore, something about yourself, something about the inner child, or something that was rejected when it comes to your inner child, when it comes to enjoyment, fun, pleasure, etc. But basically, it could be very tempting, or there could be a reactive moment basically where it's like, oh, I'm just going to project that onto somebody else. But this is about, okay, taking a breather, just bring it back to yourself. Okay, go inward and consider your own personal feelings. Yeah, this could be a new moon where there can be such growth here to do with your individuality in this respect. And perhaps as well, looking at how you can become somewhat more free, right? There can even be this openness that can come from this, okay? Even thinking about the heart space by being vulnerable, by opening your heart, okay? By being honest about how you feel. This within itself can be quite transformative, I would even say, okay? Can be transformative. Okay, so lastly, we're going to look at Pisces. So for you, Pisces, this new moon is going to happen in your 6th house. So what does this suggest? Well, a fresh start, a fresh perspective when it comes to your stress levels, time management, timekeeping, looking at even the person that you are on a daily basis or on most days, okay? Pisces, you can be such artistic, creative, lively people. And I think when it comes to your work, especially, You need to feel like you have this room to create or to do what you're passionate about, to do what lights you up, to do what brings you joy and happiness. So, this new moon can suggest setting new intentions when it comes to these parts of yourself. And perhaps as well, setting new intentions when it comes to your health. Okay, your health, your well being. That even ties in with the stress level piece that I mentioned. Okay, being able to recognize, oh my gosh, am I overwhelmed here? Like, am I feeling really stressed out right now? Exhale, breathe, breathe, and just take a beat. This type of thing. Okay. And perhaps this is also an opportunity with Venus retrograde also being there for you to go over, okay, what am I being paid? Um, what is my work worth? What are my services worth? Considering as well, even how much time do you take out of your day to really just play, enjoy, put your feet up, relax. I think for you, Pisces, with Leo in your sixth, it sort of suggests that what you kind of need on a daily basis, okay, just even most days, is just a little bit of time for you. A little bit of time for you. Yeah, I think these are things that you will consider strongly during this new moon. And perhaps your finances and your resources somehow tie into this, okay, with Venus retrograde. So, looking at reassessing things, reviewing a few things so that you can make more time for yourself, for example. This could even tie in to an employer connection or relationship or an employee relationship. But then with Black Moon Lilith also being in the sixth house, right? Well, it could be, there's some coworkers or employers that you're kind of pissed at right now, right? And maybe things will come to a bit of a head like in the next while, or it can get to a point where it's like you're just so infuriated and you're done. Okay? You're done with the situation. It could even be that a past situation tied to a coworker presents itself, or it's that you feel a type of way, right? But still, basically, it is still a time period to focus inward, okay? To reflect and to consider how you're feeling. And then, even with that being said, perhaps through this honesty, maybe you'll feel a lot more at ease because you'll have had that release, so to speak. Okay, so that is the horoscopes. That's all the horoscopes. Thank you all so much for being here today. I've actually felt quite calm throughout this presentation, which I really like. Whenever I just try to slow down my communication, it's so much better. Thank you so much. I hope you find the horoscopes to be helpful. And I will complete the timestamps after. Now, David, I want to address this question that you asked me. Thank you so much for your question. So, your question was just a quick astrology question. Is there any placements in the natal chart that would indicate someone could be those two words? And then you said misbehaving. You think David means a comedian. I'm just going to double check what those words mean. Um, a writer or a user of satire. A writer or artist who uses biting humor and exaggerated language to make fun of someone. Okay, right. See, and then strange or funny. Okay. So yeah, like a comedian then, as you say, misbehaving. um Okay, comedian. Comedian. Let me think of comedy. Well, all right. Where my mind goes with this, to answer your question, David, which I'm not sure if you're still here right now. You could have left a long time ago, but as I said earlier, you can catch up on this. But where my mind goes would be, well, if we think about, firstly, the fifth house can be tied to comedy. Okay. Fifth house looks at comedy. And so if, for example, this is the way I see it, if, for example, Mercury or Jupiter is in the fifth house, perhaps this can look at comedy. Okay, someone who is quite comedic, or they're quite funny, but there's also that stage presence as well. And I would also suggest with this that Leo in the 10th house can indicate this, perhaps someone with Mercury in Leo in the 10th house. Though another thing I would say, because I want to read this word, he said satirist, and it means a writer or artist who uses biting humor and exaggerated language. I would even go to Sagittarius. I think Sagittarius can indicate, so Sagittarius placements can indicate someone who is a comedian. So perhaps you could say someone with Sagittarius in the 10th house, okay, looking at a public figure. For example, Jupiter even being in Sagittarius there in the 10th, again, looking at Mercury. And then I would also suggest possibly Sagittarius in the 3rd house. Okay. So, we think about the 3rd house, that can be tied to communication, mindset. But you do raise a question in my mind in terms of actual comedians, right? So let's even just take a moment to explore some comedians and their placements today to even give you some more information. So a comedian that comes to my mind, I think the name, give me a moment. I need to remember his name. It was there. It was right there. Let me see. He's a British comedian. Let's see. Lee Evans. Lee Evans. He came to my mind. So I would say that his type of comedy can be quite exaggerative. Mars as well. That's a good perspective, Barbara. Yeah. Yeah, Mars could come also into that, because it's more forthright, it's more direct as well. So that's a possibility. Okay. So interesting. So we have Lee Evans and Lee Evans. Okay, so what I find interesting about Lee Evans is he has Scorpio in the 5th and Jupiter in the 5th. Okay. So I would say that can even suggest more of the okay, so Jupiter can look at being exaggerative, but then Scorpio can even look at words that are quite cutting. And then it says uses biting humor. Yeah, it's almost like it can, it can really, it can point at something in a way that, yeah, it's humorous, sure, okay, with the Jupiter energy, but it can seem quite like there's a critical part of it, or it cuts deep, basically. It can cut deep. Though with criticizing, okay, with the criticizing the faults, etc., I think of Virgo. I think of Virgo. So let's further look at this. All right. Because, let me see. I'm pretty sure there is some comedians with a Virgo moon. Let me have a look. This is actually a really good question, and it's making me want to look these up. And I think it's interesting to share this information with you all. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so do you know who Ricky Gervais? Am I saying that right? Yeah, Ricky Gervais is he so he has a Scorpio moon. Okay, so we're seeing a Scorpio part of it, but then also he has Mars in Leo. Yeah, he has Mars in Leo. So, oh, and it's also conjunct Uranus. So that could even suggest, okay, so there's the comedy side to it, right? So Leo fifth house comedy, but the Uranus part of it could be where it's quite shocking, you know, quite shocking in the delivery. Uh, let's also think then about, let's see. Oh, and also I just want to mention that the moon is making a square to Mars as well in his chart. Let's see who else there is. There was definitely someone who had a Virgo moon. I remember looking them up. This was a while ago. I wish I could remember. I think it might have been a British comedian. Mhm. Was it Jimmy Carr? Jimmy Carr. Is he the one with the Virgo moon? Mm, no, but is it Jimmy Carr? Sagittarius moon. And he's a Virgo. Yes, yes. Jimmy Carr. Jimmy Carr is perfect for this, right? Is a perfect person to choose to perhaps help with this question. So, Jimmy Carr. Oh my gosh, Barbara, this also feeds into what you were saying, okay? With Mercury conjunct Mars. So, Jimmy Carr is a Virgo with both Mars and Mercury in Virgo and the moon in the moon and Jupiter in Sagittarius. Okay? Sagittarius can look at the exaggeration and the humor, okay? The humorous side of it. Virgo can look at the critical side of it, okay? Making sort of criticisms, yeah, being quite critical of other people. And then with Venus, looking at his Venus is in Leo. All right. So, like I said, with the Leo part of it, that can look at comedy. But in general, Leo looks at entertainment. It looks at performance. So if you consider being on a stage, right? So there's that stage presence to Jimmy Carr. Yeah, he was a perfect example to use for that question. So I hope that you find that to be helpful. Sorry for your name, David. David, it's just because you're way up the list. But yes, I hope that you find that to be helpful, David. And Barbara, that was a great question. Definitely. Thank you for your input on that as well. Definitely, I can see that Mars Mercury can aspect, even with the conjunction with Jimmy Carr, very interesting. Okay, so Natalie, you said some Redditor at one of your posts alive because you had made that assumption. Oh, Oh, why is Aries associated with the first house and other signs with the consecutive houses? Um, Other signs with the consecutive houses. Oh, hi as well to you, Chayuko. Chayuko, hi, hello. Um, well, to me, Natalie, I would say, Aries. Okay, Aries would go to the first house, Taurus the second, Gemini third, Cancer the fourth, so on, so forth. So, what was it about people eating you alive for an assumption? Sorry. Also, does anybody have any questions for me? Similar to perhaps that question of placements and indicators, etc. If anybody else has a question, it is $10 per question. Okay, so feel free to ask me a question if you would like. But yeah, Natalie, do you have an answer for me in that way? With people saying that you, so basically they at one of your posts alive. But if nobody has any more questions, I might get going. Yeah, because it is typically where Aries, yes, the first, and so on and so forth, basically said that the assumption that houses and signs are correlated is wrong and just internet BS. Aha. Yeah, I've heard mixed opinions about this. I have. Yeah, because there's some astrologers who would say, for example, that if you have, let's say you have your sun in the fourth house, that there's like a layer of cancer to it, or there's a part of it that there's cancerian traits, that type of way, or um that there's something that is connected there. I suppose that's what you're trying to say there with the houses and the signs and how they're correlated. um I suppose, yes, the sign is going to matter more, but I can also see that things are connected. The way I view it, right, for me personally, is I look at astrology as including archetypes. So Aries, for example, let's just look at Aries. Aries is an archetype, right? And so the archetype of Aries not only includes the sign of Aries, but it also includes Mars, okay, because Mars rules Aries. And it also includes the first house because Aries, of course, that's the domain for Aries. It's the first house. So I would tend to look at it more through a lens of that archetype theme, okay? So if you were to say to me that, for example, that you have Mars in the second house, sure, what something that would be on the back of my mind is, okay, right, this is the house that is traditionally ruled by Taurus, right? How does that connect in with the sign of Taurus within the chart? Like what's going on there? I kind of look at it more through a lens of connecting the bigger picture. Yeah, I think it's important to look at the bigger picture and to form the connections in general. But I hope that answered. I suppose you didn't necessarily ask me a question. I just think that was something that you just wanted to share. But I just decided to give my 2 cents about it. Yeah, I think there can be debates about many topics within astrology. It's one of those things. There's going to be people who agree, there's going to be people who disagree. There's no real way to know what is 100% fact in this respect, I guess. And I suppose that's why it's important to do your own research. It's important to even look at your own experiments, right? We have to consider the amount of work that certain astrologers have done in order to get their findings. There's a lot of work that has went into astrologers and their research, their findings, and the many clients they've worked with over the years, the many people they've assessed in terms of their charts. So yeah, that information can be really useful. But yeah, essentially, I think it's important to look into things for yourself if it is that you wish to maybe explore a question, explore more information about something that you don't know much about. It's not the sort of thing we can say, yes, that is 100% true or untrue. Yeah, that's it. Exactly, Natalie. Exactly. Okay, so if nobody else has any more questions for me, and by the way, I just want to say thank you so much for your questions today. Thank you, David. And with that, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching today. I really do hope that you find this presentation to be helpful. All the best during this new moon in Leo. And you can, of course, book a reading with me at hannahselsewhere.com. And if you did enjoy this session today, you can always buy me a coffee. That is an option. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very soon. I'm actually going to be recording the final 5 signs from the psychology series. So the psychology series, the completions, they're coming. I've been script writing all week. All the scripts have been written. Just need to get them recorded and uploaded. And that will be the psychology series completed. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video. Thank you once again. Bye.